Hello everyone, my name is Shreya and I'm a psychological counselor at the Symbiosis Center of Emotional Wellbeing. As you all know that we are in the month of June and June is celebrated as the Pride Month all over the world. So let's talk about why only June is celebrated as the Pride Month all over the world. Let's talk about what the Pride movement stands for and what it signifies. Let's talk about the community that it stands for, which is the LGBTQ community. And through this video, we should also talk about how can we sensitize ourselves to empathize and be strong supporters and be strong allies of the LGBTQ community. So let's go back in time and talk about the history of the LGBTQ / the Pride community. So back then, the community, the LGBTQ community was something that was looked down upon. Members of this community were looked down as shame or an embarrassment in society, versus now that we have openly embraced them and we can talk about our sexualities, we can talk about our individualities so freely. Back then, people were so scared and they were so fearful to even reveal their identities. But in this particular time, there was one particular place in America, in San Francisco, called as the Stonewall Bar. Now here, people were welcome from any community, from any religion, from any culture to come, talk and feel safe. Nothing could come in their way. So a lot of people from the LGBTQ community often flocked into this bar, had conversation, talked about their rights, expressed their sexualities. They felt some belonged to somewhere. But on one fine day, the police decided to raid this particular bar. But that day, the people of this community stood by ground. They did not budge but decided to give back to the police. Their protest gained a lot of popularity and attraction among the different members of the community. And that's how all of them came together, joined hands, and this little parade, this little riot marked a significant event in the history of America. Post this riot, many activists in America gained confidence to build places, to develop places where members of the LGBTQ community could just come together as a family. They felt belonged and safe. They didn't feel lonely after that. They came and spoke about their sexualities and spoke and expressed the need for their rights more fearlessly and more openly than ever before. And that was the first leg of the development of the Pride movement. There were two people responsible for the symbol of the Pride movement that we all know, which is this multicolored flag. The two people were Harvey Milk and Gilbert Baker. Gilbert Baker was the Vietnam War veteran. He was an artist and he was a drag queen. Harvey Milk was an activist, a very active activist of the LGBTQ community and also a member of the LGBTQ community. What he firmly believed was that there was a need to develop a symbol which just resonated with the values and meaning of what the Pride movement stood for and why the Pride movement actually took birth. During that time, people belonging to this community wore a pink triangle on their dress. That meant that that particular person belonged to this particular community. And that badge was a badge of shame. That badge was a badge of embarrassment, of disappointment. And Harvey Milk wanted to change that. He wanted to turn that into something that people were proud of, people that were openly fearless about, and people were positive and hopeful about. And that's where he urged his friend Gilbert Baker to come up with a symbol that proved to be true to the values of the Pride movement. Gilbert Baker, after giving it a lot of thought, came to terms that since the Pride movement expressed love so openly and so fearlessly, the only way that we could show this was through color, the expression of color, which is so powerful in nature. And that's how the multicolored flag came into being. Every color on the flag denoted, stood for something, and I'll quickly go through it. The pink color stands for sex, red color stands for life, orange color stands for healing, yellow color stands for sunlight, green stands for nature, turquoise stands for magic, indigo stands for spirituality, and violet stands for spirit. Gilbert Baker hand stitched and hand dyed the first few flags with a help of few volunteers that were flown with pride in the first march that took place in the year 1970, which took place on June 28th. And that's why the month of June is celebrated as the Pride Month every year in all parts of the world. In the year 2007, there were two more additional colors that were added, which were black and brown, to welcome the black and brown members in the community of LGBTQ. And this is how the LGBTQ, the Pride movement, took place, and it has only flourished after that. It has never looked back. Now, let's talk a little bit about the community itself, of what it stands for. So for that, we first have to understand a metaphorical concept called as the charmed circle. Now, in charmed circle, all the things which are acceptable are like heteronormativity, like monogamy. But things apart from this, or which falls outside of this circle, such as the LGBTQ, I'll go through it one by one. L stands for lesbian, G stands for gay, B stands for bisexual, T stands for transgender, Q stands for queer, I stands for intersex, A stands for asexual, and the plus plus that we add in the end stands for all the supporters and allies of this particular community. All of this population which falls outside of the charm circle were not accepted very easily, and that's why this movement took place. The LGBTQ community states and stands firm to adhere to the genders that we feel that our identities align with. Now, there's always this confusion between the difference between what's sex and what's gender. What's the difference between the two? Or maybe both of them are just the same. There's a slight difference between both. Sex is usually what we acquire during our birth. For example, I am born as a female, and that makes my sex of a female. Similarly, somebody born as a male has their sex as a male. But gender is something that follows after that. It's basically a societal expression of our identities. It's about whom we identify with. It's about who we feel we truly are. And that's what the LGBTQ community stands for and wants to promote it. That it's okay to not align or align with the sex that you're born with, and do not align with the genders that go with the sex. Now, in the final leg of the video, let's discuss about how can we become supporters, or how can we become allies of this community. Well, it's not rocket science. Anybody and everybody can become a supporter, can become an ally, as long as you are willing to. I think the first step in becoming an ally is to inform ourselves or educate ourselves about all the concepts that are related to LGBTQ. If there's a confusion between these concepts such as sex and gender, or the terminology of LGBTQ, it's absolutely all right. You can always go back, do some little research, and update yourself with the concepts and also with the idea behind this particular community. Another thing which is very important would be to just be honest about the people who are belonging to this particular community. It can be anybody from your family, your close circle of friends, anybody. It's okay to speak to them. Sometimes people just assume that people might get offended if you pick up topics about the LGBT community and speak to them. I think that's a misconception. You can always talk, and remember, some disagreements are also okay, they are healthy. The other thing which is absolutely important is to speak up. A lot of times people fear to not speak up because they fear that they might make a particular situation awkward. For example, if somebody just funnily raises this particular comment that is so gay, and people might just gulp that particular statement down or not react on it because they just don't want to make it worse. But it's absolutely okay for you to comment on it and say that that is not okay. Some things are not acceptable. This will give the other person the courage and also make the other person feel safe and secure. Also, listen. I think listening is also a very important part about supporting or becoming an ally of the LGBTQ community. So that's all about the Pride movement and the LGBTQ community. For more updates, please like our page, and there'll be more updates coming your way. Thank you so much.